Hello everyone, welcome. Today I'm going to be doing a few chores, and this is probably going to be 2 days in one video for all of you. The first thing I want to work on is spray painting. I found a new hobby, and that is I love to make things new again, and I have some items that really are dingy. Let's go ahead and see what one $5 can of spray paint can do to make things look new again. This time of the year I have so much produce, scraps and things like that, and I want to make myself a slop bucket. I think it would be nice to be able to have a slop bucket when I'm in the middle of cooking, and then I can just keep it out here. So I'm going to work on this, and then I can take it out to the garden when I'm finished. It is amazing with just one fresh coat of paint how you can make things new again. I'm looking at things all around my homestead and trying to figure out, okay, so how can I reuse this over and over and over again? And what can I do to make what I already have new again? And I couldn't believe this. I had this bunny rabbit, and it's one of my favorite things, but it turned purple from being outside. So it was brown when I bought it, but for some reason it turned purple. And this one can of paint did so much, and I was just so excited because it looked like it was brand new. It's amazing what a fresh coat of paint can do, and how it can just really transform all of the old pieces of things that you have that you really love, but they're becoming so dingy. After I got that finished, I started looking for more things that I could paint, and I had this wicker basket. Now this is not used for food, but for some of my potpourri and herbs that I like to have, and I just couldn't believe how much prettier it looked. As you know, dark brown is my favorite color, and I just love the color brown. What's your favorite color? Write it in the comments below. Doesn't that look so much better? It's so clean and refreshing. I really enjoy the old-fashioned TV shows. In one episode of The Waltons, Olivia Walton had a slop bucket, and I thought, that would be a great idea. So I gain a lot of wisdom by watching those videos as well. Another thing they did in the Great Depression was they used their own dishwater for watering plants. Now we have a very small septic, and I do reuse my dishwater if I'm not cleaning anything that has to do with meat. Just think about it, all of that water that gets put down into the septic for no reason. Many times I'm washing canning jars and things like that, and the water is still good. It's gray water, and gray water is not harmful if you know the rules to it, if you know what you can and cannot do. You can't just dump a bunch of gray water right on the ground. You have to make sure that it can penetrate the ground within 10 minutes. And by doing so, then you know that it's going down into the ground and it's being sanitized all over again. So let me explain this a little bit better. If you would dump, let's say, 50 gallons of gray water onto the dirt, and it would just lay on top, that actually is not a good thing. It can grow bacteria and things like that. But if you water things with your gray water and you don't use meat or anything like that, it's just plain water, like for in the shower, and that water does go seep down into the ground, well then that's a good thing. That means it's going down into the garden and going down into the ground, and it's being reabsorbed. And it's really good and has nutrients. There's literally no reason to have expensive compost bins. If you don't want to spend money for a compost bin, you don't need it. What I do is I put all of my leftover scraps directly into the garden. I let it sit there for about a day or two. I'll either shovel it in or till it in, or I feed the wild animals. And it works out great for me. And my garden has never looked as good as it did this year. The grapes are just about ready. I can smell the grapes in the air, but I want them just to be a little bit more sweeter. And then we will harvest the grapes and make all kinds of jams and jellies with them. We like to eat them fresh as well. The slop bucket is washed, ready to go again. It seems a little bit taboo in the day of 2025 that we talk about the Great Depression and how people lived every single day of their life. And in the Great Depression, they did things that people would raise their eyebrows at these days, like reusing your dishwater and slop buckets. All of that sounds really not approval in this day and age, but that's how people did it back then. And people lived good, healthy lives. I think maybe we should remove some of the chemicals of today that seem to be popular and go back to the old ways of living. I find it so interesting that people want to do everything the new way of living, and they think the new way of living is the best. And maybe in some cases it is, but many times it's not. You know, we have all these modern conveniences, and they are really nice to have, but do we take all of these things for granted? And now I've had a dishwasher maybe once in one of the homes that I lived in, but I'm always used to doing things the hard way. But then it keeps me physically active, and I really do enjoy history, and so this isn't something that is drudgery to me. But when money is tight and the economy fails, what are we going to do? We won't be able to rely on maybe those high electronic and electric devices that we're used to. Using our dishwater to water our plants instead of paying for water that people have to pay in the borough. Now for me, it is free, my water, but still, why would I want to waste water when I didn't have to? And we think about it so much. You know, back in those days, they had outhouses. There was nothing wrong with an outhouse. If you know the fundamental scientific facts of having things clean, neat, and orderly, you realize that it's good for the environment to have the olden days. Nowadays, we have so many chemicals, so of course, you wouldn't want to be putting chemicals all over your plants. But for me, everything that I do is homemade, and it's pretty much all chemical free. Now, I am really working on some things in my life to try to be more self-sufficient and not having so much of a footprint, on the ground, and trying to do things a little healthier. I'm trying all these things, and I'm working towards it, but it's a work in progress. And now I'm just going to go ahead and put all of my laundry away. Like these hangers, I'm starting to use wood hangers instead of plastic ones, and try not to have so much plastic. Now this is a challenge for me because sometimes when you want to redo things, it costs money, and if you don't have extra money, you can't really do all of these things that are better for the environment. In other words, the plastic baggies. I like to use plastic baggies because they're cheap, and I use so many at a time when I'm canning and freezing and things like that. So that's one thing I'm really trying to work on. Well, my friends, thank you so much for watching today. And what do you think about the Great Depression? Do you live that way? Do you do some things that would raise the eyebrows of other people? Oh my goodness. Sometimes the old ways are the best ways.